Hello, beautiful and awakened souls. Thank you so much for tuning in here to the Bring Me to Life podcast. My name is Selamon, and on today's episode, we have certified angel therapy practitioner, Sarah Hall. Sarah has such a beautiful and wonderful energy and an undeniable connection to the angels, which will be the topic of the interview. Sarah was trained by Doreen Virtue, and she shares her story of awakening to the angels and how it led to her being trained by Doreen. This will be our fourth time having Sarah on the podcast, and I think that you're really going to enjoy this episode. If you do enjoy these podcasts and would like to help financially, we have a Patreon page at patreon.com/pbm2l with some wonderful perks for as little as $1 a month. If you would like to help but are unable to help financially, you can share this episode on your favorite social media. And just by tuning in, you are helping. And we can't thank you enough for your support because it means everything to us. So thank you for waking up and shining on with us. We'll be right back with Sarah Hall.
For many of us, spirituality is just the quest to find essence or true meaning and to really just connect with a higher consciousness.
Welcome to the Bring Me to Life podcast.
Connecting with your spirituality is very important in this life. By becoming mindful of all of it, you can realize where you are and if that is leading you to where you want to go.
Listen to the little simple things because it's those little simple things that are going to shift you vibrationally in such a way that will prepare you to become very intuitively minded and ready to step forward on the next part of your path.
I hope you can feel the love that's inside you, it's inside me, that connects us.
Awakening humanity to spirituality and higher consciousness.
Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Hi, thank you for having me, CeeLo. It's always great to be here on Project Bring Me to Life. I love you guys.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a wonderful pleasure to have you on the show. And actually, you have your own very, very wonderful, extremely pleasant show that we'll talk about in a bit. But for now, I wanted to get an understanding of the training that you've had leading up to the show and your work with angels. I know that you're trained by Doreen Virtue and a certified angel therapy practitioner, but could you start with what awakened you to angels and how you started to work with them?
Yes. Oh, I'd love to. So yes, as you said, I did receive my formal training in how to really communicate with the angels from Doreen. But my experiences with the angels actually go back even farther before that. I first became aware of the angels when I was in, I'd say probably about my late teens to early 20s. And at this time, I was experiencing a real blossoming in my spiritual or psychic gifts. And I've always had kind of a spiritual or psychic sensitivity throughout my childhood. I'd had many experiences with this when I was really young, and it sort of started to come back, I'd say, when I was in my late teens. And I was having experiences that were very confusing spiritually. I would sometimes see light around other people, such as auras and things like that. Sometimes at night when I was trying to fall asleep in my bedroom, I would see what looked like spirits that were in the room. I'd often see images of silhouettes that looked like they were made out of light of people or other different kinds of beings and things like that. And some of them gave me really good feelings, but some of them gave me not so good feelings. And I was just kind of not sure about it all. I was very interested, very much intrigued, and wanted to learn everything that I possibly could about it. And because I was so interested and because I was so intrigued, I would oftentimes just really open myself up to it. I'd really open the doors, to the spirit world, so to speak, in my own mind and heart. And in doing that, I would just say, I'm interested in, just sort of seeing whatever the spirit world wants to give me. What messages are out there? What beings are there? And in doing so, again, as I said, sometimes I would stumble upon very friendly, happy beings, and sometimes ones that didn't really have the greatest of energy, because I just sort of opened myself up willy-nilly like that. So in doing that, again, I started to receive these experiences that weren't always welcome. Sometimes in my psychic experiences, as I said, I'd pick up on things that were great or that were very, very helpful or relevant to things that were going on. But sometimes I felt that there were spiritual energies or entities around me that were kind of knocking on my door spiritually at times when I didn't even invite them, when I didn't want them in. And sometimes would invite in energies that didn't really feel very good at all. I would be, just kind of sensing things that were very kind of cold or sometimes negative or fear-based feelings around some of these spiritual entities. So I started to pray about what I should do. And synchronistically, a dear friend of mine, I believe that I attracted a message from her at the perfect timing in my life when I needed to really kind of get a handle on honing where my spiritual senses were focused. And she is very, very Catholic. Her and I were actually both raised Roman Catholic and went to church our whole lives. I wasn't really into it. I was very much striking out on my own path philosophically and spiritually and all that sort of thing. But she was very beautifully just devout in her faith. And she said, well, Sarah, the angels their purpose is to guide and protect us. When you experience lower beings around you, or when you get confused about things like this, and you should call on the angels directly, when you need help. And I thought about it, and I was like, okay, yeah. And it was funny because at that time in my life, again, I was kind of my own little independent philosopher, and I was very much rebellious against religious things. And still to this day, I'm not necessarily religious. I think of myself more as open-minded, spiritual. But I decided to give it a try because I thought, it's worth it. I felt that what she said really struck a chord, really resonated with me, and that there was some purpose in perhaps seeing if there was something to this whole angels thing. So soon after that, there was a night where, as I described before, I'd be laying in my bed and sometimes I'd see, images, apparitions and things like that in my room as I was trying to fall asleep. And again, sometimes it was coming uninvited. I had just such an experience one night when I was laying in bed, and this being was not a welcome entity at all. I felt sort of a fear-based or negative energy from it, and it didn't make me feel good at all. So I decided to call on the angels, and I remembered something else my friend had said. She said, well, pray the Lord's Prayer too, because that is something that really helps to dispel negative energy as well. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. So in my mind, I started to pray the Lord's Prayer, and I just mentally called on the angels. And in order to call on the angels, really all you need to do is think, speak, or feel the thought angels with your inner heart. It's very simple. It's as easy as that. And when I did that, after a few moments of praying and just thinking, focusing on angels, I saw the most beautiful being standing at the foot of my bed. It was an angel that had white light that seemed to just pour out from him, almost as if he was made out of white light. He had beautiful wings, and I saw him standing holding a sword in my room. And, I saw this image for just a moment, and then all of a sudden, I saw the image of this angel flash across my room, almost as if when you get your picture taken and the flash goes right in your eyes, and then you see a little tracer of the flash for a few minutes afterwards, or for a second afterwards. I saw that flash across my room, sort of like angel, 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 jump across my room. And it was almost as if it chased out this lower energy, all the lower energy, any lower beings that had attached themselves to me because of my wandering psychic curiosity at that young age were gone. It just disappeared. And suddenly I felt so incredibly light. I felt safe. I felt happy. And everything around me just felt like I was melting into the softest, warmest hug. It was so beautiful. And I was easily then able to fall asleep and get the rest that I needed and all of that. And later on, did a little bit of digging and wasn't surprised at all to find that this angel depicted with the sword of light wasn't just unique to my own envisioning. This is an angel that really does exist. It's Archangel Michael. And if you look at pictures of him throughout hundreds and hundreds of years, he's always depicted in paintings or statues or whatever, holding his sword of light, which is representative of Archangel Michael's ability to cut our ties to fear or to protect us from fear-based things, from lower things. And that's his purpose. Archangel Michael's purpose is to dispel and release all fear from planet Earth. Quite a big job, but he's very much up to the task. So in that first experience, I had my first experience and encounter with Archangel Michael. And from then on, I started to become incredibly interested in the angels. I did everything that I could to start to research them. I started doing as much reading as I possibly could. That's when I was first introduced to Doreen's books. Her books, actually, it's so interesting, practically jumped off of shelves every once in a while when I'd go to a bookstore. It's like there was something that was guiding me straight to those books, and they would just synchronistically be in the right place at the right time. And it happened enough times to the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to read these books. So I did, and that's how I got to really learn about who the angels were from a, I guess, non-religious standpoint, because of course, being raised Roman Catholic, you know about these things growing up, but to learn about them from someone who had, in their real life experiences, modern day, someone you can, you read their experiences now, had known them, could communicate them, had experienced being with the angels in the same way that I did in that moment in my room. That was amazing for me. That was a real awakening for me. So I started to sort of just devour all of the knowledge and information that I could in connecting with the angels. And the more that I learned about them, the more that I wanted to call on them. And the more that I called on them, the more that they started showing up in my life and helping me to manifest different opportunities, blessings, helping me to heal myself personally. And the angels soon became the most driving force in my life for guiding my psychic and spiritual development. Because as I said, I was very, very spiritually open and that sort of thing from a very, very young age. And never really had a personal coach that told me what to do with it and what not to do with it and that sort of thing. But in reading about the angels and then asking the angels to come in and help guide this part of my, sort of sensory world or sensory development, it helped so much. They helped me to learn how to open my third eye. They helped me to distinguish between different kinds of energies that I was picking up on. They helped me to realize that sometimes I was picking up on other people's feelings and feeling their feelings as my own, which was a breakthrough sort of thing for me. And they became like dear, dear friends to me. And I'd like to share just one other little anecdote, because I think that this was one of the moments in my path with connecting with the angels that just cemented things immensely in my knowing that, okay, this is my path. I want to connect with angels. I want to do everything that I can to introduce other people to them and to help other people to tap into the incredible wellspring of empowerment, joy, and healing that can be found when you connect with the angels and they help you to connect to your spirituality. And the experience I had was this. I was up north at my family's cottage one weekend, and it's in northern Michigan. It's on Lake Huron, which is a beautiful place. It's just this pure, lovely place. It feels so good, so clean, and at night the stars come out beautifully. There's no light pollution there. And this is a place that I love to go and just retreat sometimes. It was a beautiful place for me to spiritually retreat. And when I was there, I felt Archangel Michael just with me at all moments, like he was right over my shoulder the entire time. And it felt really, really great. I felt incredibly safe. I felt just as if my meditations were getting really beautiful and deep. And it felt like there was something just in the air, something magical about that particular time. A day or two later, I had a couple of friends meet me up there at my cottage, and we were just kind of hanging out, and some people were playing music, and we were just sitting around. There was a campfire, and there was just a couple of us enjoying life, enjoying nature, and that sort of thing. And all of a sudden, I decided, you know what, I want to get up and dance, and I want to celebrate life. And I just felt so moved and so happy, and I was dancing around, and all of a sudden, it felt like I wasn't dancing alone. The joy in that moment, and I could feel it, I could see it in my friends' eyes too. Everybody was just happy. There was just this happiness in the air. The joy started to turn up. It was almost like there was if there's a volume knob on joy, it started to blast at full volume, and it felt so good. And I was just kind of laughing and happy, and again swaying and dancing around and feeling the music and things like that. And when I was dancing, again, it felt as if the angels were dancing with me. It felt like there were hundreds and hundreds of these beautiful light-filled beings that were all around me. And if I closed my eyes, I could kind of see them around me. If I opened my eyes, I could feel them as if they were hugging me, lifting me up, filling me with light and love. And it was amazing because in that moment, it felt as if the angels were giving me a little peek, a little glimpse into their realm, or what it feels like to be in their vibration. And what it felt like was thousands of beings that were always touching one another, always one arm touching the other arm, or really, really close, really unified, as a unified sort of consciousness, almost as if they were kissing, just always kissing. And in the way that they sort of, their bodies intersected one another, it gave me this feeling that they were celebrating one another, that they loved one another, and that they were so united, they were so one. And it made them just feel safe and happy and good, and they were just constantly outpouring this celebratory feeling of bliss, bliss, bliss at all moments. And it felt so good. And I recalled as I was in that moment that I learned that angels are 100% light and love. They have no ego. So all they do is love. And in that moment, I realized that, I wasn't just intellectually thinking that as I had read it before in a book. I was now feeling it in that one moment where I was able to just let go of everything, blissfully dance and sing and just celebrate in my heart. It felt so incredible. And I thought to myself, gosh, this has to be what heaven feels like. It was just this overwhelming outpouring of beautiful, beautiful bliss and love. And it felt just so good. So shortly after that, I started to share some of the feelings that I was feeling with my friends. And we were just sitting around talking and things like that. And before I knew it, there were messages that started to pop up in my mind from the angels for my friends. Some of the messages felt as if they were about their personal lives and things that specifically pertain to them. Some of the messages they were giving us more about the collective of humanity. And my friends encouraged me, go ahead, share whatever you're getting. And they were kind of like, whoa, because some of the things that the angels were bringing up really did speak to specific things that were maybe going on in their lives that made sense to them and helped them. And I never felt anything like it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm channeling the angels. What? Wow. And it felt so good, and it was so wonderful. So that was a really, really beautiful, special experience. And I was inspired by that to get the training with Doreen. So it was a few years after that experience, actually, that I finally manifested the opportunity to go and take my first class with Doreen Virtue. And it was her mediumship class in Hawaii. So I traveled to Kona, Hawaii with one of my best friends at the time, who is also an angel therapist, also very sensitive to angels. And her and I went and we took the mediumship class with Doreen, which was beautiful because it was a very small group. I think we had only 7 or 8 people in our class. So we all had a lot of good one-on-one time with Doreen and the other teachers that were there. And each of us really got to get deep into practicing our gift to communicate psychically and to receive messages. And that was an unforgettable experience, and one that made me know that I should get certified also in angel therapy from her. So it was, I believe, the following summer, I went back again, and I studied angel therapy with her. But it was amazing because the experiences around attracting the opportunity to go and study with Doreen were amazing. I didn't really have a penny to rub together, to my name at the time. I was a college student, just doing what I could to get by, sort of thing. And, it's not cheap to get a plane ticket that goes from Detroit, Michigan to Kona, Hawaii, and, to pay for the class and different things like that. But each time it was like something just came in, and there was a little windfall that came out of nowhere. And I knew that the angels were behind making sure that my friend and I were able to go to these classes and to receive the training in the timing that we were able to receive them. And from then on, I began doing this professionally. I began just giving angel readings, giving classes on angels, doing everything that I could to just spread this joy and love and this path to everybody that wanted to be open to it with me. And it's been an incredibly beautiful ride, beautiful journey, beautiful experience ever since then. And I just have to say that who I really have to thank for this are the angels themselves, because I see them as the architects of my path, and of many of our paths, of all of us. Like God or Spirit is there guiding each and every one of our spiritual paths and making sure that we do the things that we're supposed to do at the timing that we're supposed to do it, so that we can fulfill our purpose and be fulfilled in turn. So yeah, I thank the angels for bringing me on this path, and for helping bring through the inspiration that I'm so honored to share with all of you today.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I think that's a really, really beautiful story, and something I think a lot of people will resonate with. I know when I awakened personally, I was also very open-minded and very willing for whatever to just kind of come to me. But for you, that's such a beautiful story that this unwanted energy, this heavy negative energy was coming, and you synchronistically had a friend come and tell you about the angels and the Lord's Prayer. And I think it's great that you were willing, even though you weren't religious and maybe didn't know a whole lot about the angels, you were willing to open up and see what they might offer you. So I think that's a really beautiful story, Sarah.
Thank you. And yeah, I have to add one other little comment to it too, because after Archangel Michael cleared those negative energies and frequencies, entities, and so forth away, I never had a repeat experience of that again. And for me, that was actually a miracle, because I had, ever since maybe mid-high school years until the time when I, called on the angels and that happened, I had several experiences that would come in that felt, kind of unwelcome, or being psychic was overwhelming for me. It was awful to feel other people's feelings, or it was awful to tune into things that other people weren't necessarily picking up on. And it was a confusing time every once in a while, even to the point where at one point I thought, I declare myself an atheist and I don't believe in anything and I'm pushing it all away. But even, to my own, against my own efforts, I still had supernatural or spiritual experiences, despite, I'd say, trying to declare myself an atheist, mm-hmm. trying to mind over matter, the whole thing. And I'd still, receive these things. But once I called on the angels, it turned everything around, and I learned how to, I guess, tune my particular spiritual sensitivity to light, to love, to beings that can help, that can spread goodness and joy. And that's where I've kept my radio dial ever since. And I really believe in the angels' power to protect us, because not only did that uplift what I was picking up on spiritually, but the angels protecting me and keeping my energy uplifted has protected me in multiple situations afterward. I felt like my relationships started to change, and I was attracting more loving, light, positive experiences from then on. So yeah, call on the angels, because they really can help, and they really do make a difference in our lives.
For sure. I've had many experiences where I felt like I hit the rock bottom, and life was so overwhelming, but then the angels come and they help, and I think they are so wonderful for any human to call upon. And so I think that's your show is really amazing to help people, because you talk about many different topics. You have guests come on, and at the end of the show you allow people to call in and get some guidance. So I think that's really beautiful. Did you want to start talking about your show and how that got started?
Yay! Yes, I would love to. So the show, Through the Eyes of the Angels, which we air live every third Thursday of the month. And just a disclaimer, the next one is December 15th, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So tune in and go ahead and listen to it. This is a show that I've actually dreamed of doing for a long time. It's funny, before I collaborated with the wonderful Project Bring Me to Life organization, the whole team of you guys there. I had kind of wanted to be able to, communicate with people via radio or podcast regularly, because it's just so great to check in with the angels regularly. It's so great to hear their messages and help them keep us on track with our life paths. So I really do. I believe in divine timing, and I know that it was right and it was good for us all to create this opportunity, this show together. And what this show is based on is messages that I receive from the angels. So as you said, each show has a specific topic. And what I do is I tune in, beforehand, and I ask the angels what topic they want me to talk about. I just say, what should we teach about today? And sometimes they give me a whole list of things, and they say, well, someday we'll do this topic, someday we'll do that topic. But usually I say, okay, what are we doing this week? And they'll give me something. And for example, the show that we're having on December 15th is going to be a show on the solstice, on sacred rituals of the light, and just kind of how we use beautiful rituals to connect with light and to bring more light into our spiritual path. The solstice is such a magical, beautiful kind of holiday that actually coincides with many holidays that are culturally celebrated throughout the world, that all pretty much say the same thing or celebrate the same thing, which is the return of light to the physical world, with the sun, kind of coming back, and also the return of the light to the heart, the return of light to the human spirit. So we'll be talking about that, but I'll always get, for the topics that we choose for each show, messages from the angels on what they want us to know about that particular topic. Usually I'll jot down a couple notes from them, and before the show I usually set intentions and I pray with the help of the angels, and I say, angels, all right, just bring through whatever you want to talk about, communicate whatever you want people to hear. And they always do a good job, I think, of bringing forward the messages that we need. And another cool thing that I think is kind of synchronistic about it as well is that when we take callers, it seems like we always attract the best callers. I love getting in callers that seem to sometimes have similar questions that each of them are talking about, where we see a string of similar things and we've got a theme going for the show, where it's like, gosh, angels, you really picked the right people to come through on the show today. And because I know that every time somebody calls in with their own question, it's also a message for everybody that's listening. And I hold the intention for that to be so as well. When we start the show, I say, angels, just bring through whatever is going to help people the most, and they do it. So it's great to connect with people when people call in, and we do live readings on the show and things like that, and discussions, and we're doing guests too. I'm looking to bring in more guests. Actually, our recent guest that we had, everybody should check out the podcast we have of this one, is Felicia Armstrong. She was on our shamanic topic radio show, where we also talked about elementals and earth-based spirituality. And she is actually a fairy expert. She was a fairy communicator, and the two of us together did some readings for people live on the show, which was so cool to do readings in tandem with another psychic. I thought that was so fun. And she taught us a lot about shamanism. She's also a practicing shaman. She taught us about how to communicate with the fairies and what it means to communicate with the fairies. So I look forward to bringing in more special guests and things like that can give us lots of different kinds of perspectives that will mix in with the angels' messages and things like that as we go forward. So yeah, it's been a real honor, a real treat to do the show.
Yes. I think it was very, very synchronistic that we communicated and got this going, because I remember I started getting the live radio shows going, and I got to a point where I was, consistent in starting them, and I was like, okay, I think we can have a show. And Shannon and I were thinking about it, and it's like, Sarah Hall, of course, like she's a perfect person.
Yay! I'm so glad you did too. It was just the kind of one of those divinely aligned things. It's so great because you guys were ready for it, and I had been thinking about it for several weeks, like very actively, before you mentioned that was something you were interested in doing. So yeah, that's another one of those just synchronicity things that I think are so cool.
Beautiful. And for anybody who is interested in tuning into Sarah Hall's show, it goes live every third Thursday of the month, and then we do a rerun of it during a live broadcast. So if anytime you want to listen to Sarah's show, just go to www.projectbringmetolife.com Thursday at 12:30 p.m. And Sarah, now I have it to where if anybody goes to our website, it will play automatically during a live show, so nobody will have to try and find out where to play it. It'll just start playing.
Yay! That's so great. I love technology. That's awesome. Yes. And two, I've had a lot of people that were glad to be able to access the previous podcasts on Stitcher and iTunes as well. And did you want to tell them a little bit more about how they can get a hold of the podcast there?
Sure, yeah. So if you do want to find Sarah's show on iTunes or Stitcher, just search Through the Eyes of the Angels. You can also find it on our personal Spreaker page, which is www.spreaker.com/ I think it's show/Bring Me to Life Radio, or you could just search Bring Me to Life Radio and you'll find it there. And Sarah's show will be in its own folder, or you can go to www.projectbringmetolife.com/radio and scroll down, and all the episodes are available there. So, and actually it's available on YouTube as well.
Yes, that's right. So we've made lots of different platforms, whatever your cup of tea is, and you can tune in and listen any way that you want. So do check it out on YouTube. I've also shared it on my YouTube channel as well for those of you that are subscribed. So go ahead and look for the playlist that says Through the Eyes of the Angels, and you'll see all of our previous shows right there for you to listen to.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I'm just so grateful that we have Sarah Hall to do the show, and it's such a beautiful show and one that I really enjoy listening to, and I think everybody tuned in right now will really love it. And don't feel shy to call in and speak with Sarah, because I think it's a great opportunity that is available for you. So I would say take advantage of it.
Yay, yes. Thank you so much. It's just such a pleasure and honor to be able to connect with you guys this way. And I appreciate all of you that tune in and listen and call in and all that stuff. So we'll keep this going. And I can't wait to connect with you again on December 15th.
Yeah, definitely. Just for anybody who is interested in more about you personally, could you maybe throw out some links to where they can find you?
Oh, absolutely. So you can check out my website at www.seraphim.com, and that's spelled SERRAPHIM.com. And that just gives a little info about me. It gives you links to some of my guided meditations, which are also on YouTube. And it also shows the services that I offer. I do offer readings through Skype, on FaceTime, phone, or email, whatever you prefer. So if you want any information about that, or you want to ask me about doing something like that, you can check out my website and contact me through the website. Again, it's seraphim.com. And you can also find a little bit more about me on my YouTube channel. That's one of my favorite ways of communicating with people. I just think it's so fun to be able to make videos where it feels like we're kind of together. We're in the room together, we're hanging out, we're talking and stuff like that. And I do offer angel card readings for the new and full moon. I make guided meditation videos that I put up for free for you guys, just to share some of that beautiful angel light. And discussion videos too. And I do take requests too. If anybody wants to request a topic for a video discussion, or even that we could even bring into one of our radio shows, do feel free to request things. Sometimes people will request them in the comments on YouTube, or they'll email me through the contact page on my website, seraphim.com. Or another way that you can get a hold of me as well is through social media. I am on Facebook and Twitter. My Facebook is facebook.com/SarahHall1111. And then on Twitter, you can check me out at Seraphim444. And once again, it's SERRAPHIM 444. So let's keep in touch, because you know what? All of you listeners, everybody that I've been able to be just so blessed to connect with, you're my inspiration. You really are. You guys are the ones that keep me going and keep me inspired and excited about offering the things that I'm able to offer, and continuing to connect with the angels to bring beautiful things that we can all share together. So I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. And thanks once again for being on the show. This is your 4th time being on. So if anybody wants to hear any of the earlier episodes, it's a lot different podcasts then than it is now, but you can go to Bring Me Life Podcast, find it on your whatever platform you wish. She is the 3rd episode, the 7th episode, and the 19th episode, so you can check all those out. And thanks again, Sarah, for being on the show.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me, CeeLo. It's so great to connect with you guys as always. Sending you so much love.
Thanks for shining on with us.